Meanwhile, the coronavirus pandemic has shown us just how much we rely on technology and the internet.
And that is sparking a new concern about people going online to buy their prescription medications. While they think it's cheaper, they're not getting what they bargained for, instead ending up with medication laced with meth in some cases. In a First Alert investigation, Sarah Thompson discovered these black market drug deals are happening right here in Wisconsin.
A man who's not even from Wisconsin is now facing multiple federal charges here for what prosecutors say was a years-long operation, shipping prescription medications from countries like Romania to the U.S. Last week, a grand jury indicted that man, Rakesh Sarin, after prosecutors say thousands of those pills used to treat ADHD actually contained meth. Court records show Sarin spent 12 years in federal prison for conspiring to commit healthcare, mail, and wire fraud for similar cases in 2005. All this is prompting the question, are online pharmacies selling you bad medicine? Letter after letter has been sent from the FDA to online pharmacies, many actually based in foreign countries, telling them to stop selling misbranded and illegal drugs to people in America. Yet we found those sites still in operation, claiming to give you great deals on prescription medications. We're not identifying them to prevent further abuse. The investigation that eventually led the DEA to 58-year-old Rakesh Sarin started with an online pharmacy. Court records show investigators purchased and received codeine and other pain pills and medications used to treat anxiety, most sent here from Romania through the Postal Service. In 2018, Romanian National Police made 12 arrests to dismantle the supplier. Hundreds of thousands of controlled pharmaceuticals were seized. The 5-year-long undercover investigation eventually led to the discovery of thousands more pills being shipped from India, Singapore, and the Philippines to Texas, where Sarin lived. With the help of a dealer in Florida, popular medications like Xanax, oxycodone, Percocet, and Adderall made it to Wisconsin. The DEA intercepted and tested them. Court records show multiple shipments of Adderall tested positive for meth.
We're seeing more and more cases where we're getting illicit pharmaceuticals that are coming from internet pharmacies all over the world. And the concern with that is that let the buyer beware, because you have no idea what you're getting. There's no regulation.
The Brown County Drug Task Force was not part of Sarin's investigation, but Agency Director Lieutenant Kevin Kennard says cases like it are becoming too common. The reason? Price. Kennard says people with no criminal background or intent of buying illegal drugs are shopping these online pharmacies, drawn in by claims of big discounts, bulk shipping, and huge cost savings.
We have run across people that are legitimately doing this just because they think they're going to save money.
This month, the Journal of the American Pharmacists Association published a report finding 61 of the 62 online pharmacies it searched, specifically for buying Adderall, were rogue. They claimed to be located in the U.S., but were actually in Bulgaria, Russia, the Netherlands, Romania, and more. It found prices for Adderall were actually not cheaper than buying it here.
I do not believe anybody should use these pharmacies.
Dr. Ken Johnson, Chief Medical Officer at Prevea Health, is concerned the coronavirus pandemic may actually be driving more people to these fake pharmacies.
As people are socially isolated, they are spending more time online, which means the likelihood of finding one of these is higher.
Like the investigation into Rakesh Sarin, where anxiety and depression medications were routinely shipped overseas, Dr. Johnson worries rogue pharmacies are using those meds to target a vulnerable population.
With all of the change and uncertainty we currently face, rates of anxiety, depression, and isolation are much greater than they have been. This will lead more people to look for a solution.
What they end up buying is a mystery. The DEA warns the pills could be expired, or counterfeit ones could contain dangerous fillers.
It'll look like the pill, but it's not.
They may be using talc or baby powder or other things to hold the pill together,
including fentanyl or meth, like those Adderall pills the DEA intercepted. Lieutenant Kennard says pills might come from actual pharmacies or drug companies in other countries, but they're not licensed by the FDA. making consumers gamble with poor odds. The FDA shows only 3% of online pharmacies reviewed by the National Association of Boards of Pharmacy comply with U.S. laws and standards.
If it seems shady, it's probably shady.
And here are some red flags. Rogue sites won't require a prescription, but they will offer deals too good to be true. Or they'll ask buyers to use cryptocurrency and communicate with encrypted messaging services. You can also look at the domain on many of these websites and tell they are not based in the U.S. Now keep in mind, though, even if you do have a prescription from a doctor and buy your medication from an unlicensed online pharmacy, it is illegal.
We want to turn our attention to a First Alert investigation that Sarah Thompson brought you yesterday on Action 2 News at 6 about the dangers of online pharmacies and the dangerous things that some of those pharmacies are putting in prescription medications, even though people aren't using prescriptions to get these. So Sarah, let's go back and find out, how did you learn about this story in order to pursue it and bring some very important information to our viewers?
Well, I was actually looking up other cases on the federal court website trying to look up a different case and stumbled upon this one. And I opened it up and started reading the search warrants and then the complaints that they had filed through the federal court system. And as I'm reading through this, I'm thinking, people really can't be buying prescription medications from other countries laced with meth. I can't believe that's happening. And then I thought, well, if this case was based out of Milwaukee, if it's happening there, is it happening here? Likely. So then I called the Drug Task Force and said, what's going on? Is this actually happening? And they said, we weren't part of that case, but it is a very big problem that we're looking into.
And we want to urge people, if you have at all considered buying online medications, that you go watch this story. It is on our website at WBAY.com. It's very easy to find, and it's very important information. So we know from your reporting that this was a 5-year federal investigation into this, and it spans numerous countries. So in putting this together, how long did the research take for you to realize that there's a component, as you mentioned, that affects Northeast Wisconsin?
Well, and as I was looking through and just talking with Drug Task Force, is this a problem? What do you see here? You know, there are no jurisdictions, there are no boundaries, especially when it comes to drug cases.
Right.
They come from all over. In this case, obviously from overseas, and there's a huge problem with that.
And sent you all over in your research. So again, watch the story. The websites, they're out there for people. They are targeting people, but that's part of the research, which led you where?
It led me to India.
Okay.
The FDA has issued letter after letter after letter to these online pharmacies. They're rogue. The vast majority of them are not legitimate. And
but wasn't it 62 of 61 or 61 of 62 investigated were classified as rogue by the government?
Exactly. So they're not good, and they're based in other countries. So Singapore, Romania, India. And so in the course of my investigation, I needed to look up some of these sites just to see what they're selling on these websites. Mm-hmm. And as I was doing that yesterday, I think you walked by my desk as I was doing it, and I'm kind of laughing that there was a salesperson on the website based in India who was trying to chat with me and really wanted my attention, sent me multiple messages once I was on that website.
Funny to us because of the circumstance, but not funny how aggressive they are as soon as someone gets on their website.
Very aggressive. I mean, he or she really wanted my attention. And I, of course, did not engage. Sure. I didn't respond, but that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to draw you in. If you get on those sites, they really want your money, your attention, and they want you to buy from them because you don't know what you're going to get.
Well, in many cases, they also know what they're putting in there, and they want the repeat. And so that's the meth component that I'm curious what the Drug Task Force people are saying about that. It seems random. Apparently, it is not.
It is not random. What they're looking for is that addiction factor. So they put that meth in there, or the doctor had mentioned he'd seen cases with fentanyl, both very addictive drugs. They put that in there. People get that. They all of a sudden have a different feeling. That medication makes them feel different, and they say, I want that again. So they go back to that same supplier. They're getting your money. You're hooked on these very addictive medications.
And in the piece, and I want to touch on this a little bit more now, that COVID-19 component, it is the perfect storm for something like this to take off. Why?
And it's all about, I guess, our vulnerabilities, you could say right now. There are far higher rates of anxiety and depression right now, and isolation. So many more people are doing everything online. So we're spending our time there. You're isolated. If you're feeling that anxiety, that depression, you're looking for an easy out. You don't maybe feel good going to the doctor yourself, so you're going to self-medicate. You're going to fix the problem yourself. You go online, and all of a sudden you get yourself in a pretty difficult situation.
All right, Sarah, great work.